Hi, welcome back to Lovin Sheila Shorts. We're moving right along. And one thing I want to say before we get into anything, I'm always rushing right into it, but please do me a favor. And before we go any further, go ahead and subscribe. Subscribe to Lovin Sheila, the podcast. It would mean a lot to me. So now that we have that out the way, kind of like everything that we do here at Love and Sheila is real time. It's real journey, it's real revelation, it's real insight, it's real working through it as it happens. And a lot of things I find myself experiencing, and I'm thinking, I just talked about that. I know better. And so in our last short, we were talking about what I call being hypersensitive due to a trauma response. And one of the things that was spoken to me is not only am I hypersensitive, what I call hypersensitive, that's the way I put it. However, also hypervigilant. And what I interpret that to mean is whenever I see something that is familiar to me, familiar in a way that I don't like, it's kind of like a red flag. It's like a danger sign that comes up, which is really just a trigger, right? It's a danger sign. And in that danger sign, it takes me back to things that have happened previously to me or the way someone has spoken to me previously. And my defenses come up and I want to like stop it. And back to my, like I was talking about previously, fight or flight. I want to fight and I want to like combat it. But I'm better than that now, so I'm trying to work through it. And and so I'm working through it and I'm being peaceable and kind of seeing it for what it is in the moment. But then I kind of have a visceral response as I think about it possibly later. And my first response is still typically being hypervigilant, protective of myself, defending myself, maybe projecting some things onto others that I would not ordinarily do. But as I reflect even more and I look back on all the things that I've spoken about here at Lovin Sheila, and I continually work to apply them, I realize something. And sometimes we try to be vulnerable. We think we're being vulnerable when we are expressing ourselves, but sometimes we're expressing ourselves, but not being vulnerable because we're saying what we think is appropriate, what doesn't make us look bad, or God forbid, make us look weak, or better yet, make us vulnerable. So I notice in my communication, sometimes I'm communicating and I'm expressing myself, but I'm not dealing with the root of why I feel how I feel. I'm dealing with the surface of it. And the surface is, okay, maybe I didn't like this or whatever the case may be. But the reason that I may not like it, it may not be what it is on what everyone sees. The reason is because there's something underneath it that is familiar to me, that is triggering to me, and that I'm trying to avoid. And so, what I've learned, over the last year, and what I'm learning now is trying to deal with things not on the surface, but at the root. And sometimes my reaction, like I talked about previously, having a reaction, my reaction is dealing with the surface. But as I look deeper at different situations, I realize there's a root cause, and a root cause that requires me to be vulnerable. And so, and transparent and honest. And I realize the reason I'm telling you this is because that's not easy. And that's not easy for many of us. And it's not easy for me, even though I think this whole Lovin Sheila thing has been sitting here and telling my truth and being honest and talking about what I consider the dirty truth sometimes or the ugly truth. But at the same time, I realize I don't always deal with it just as it is. In my personal life, I'm dealing with the surface. And so the good thing is I look at this as growth because there was a time when I didn't deal with anything. Like I said, I had a tendency to sweep everything under the rug. And I chose not to express anything. I was very good at shutting down and going inward. And that was my fight or flight. So now I'm at a place, though sometimes it doesn't feel good, where I am standing up, I am expressing myself, I am making attempts to be vulnerable because I did not always do that. However, I realize there's a level to this. There's a level where I think I'm being vulnerable, yet still protecting my pain, protecting my scars, protecting my wound, because that's what I'm doing, protecting my wounds, because I'm not sharing the full depth of what my concerns are. So I'm protecting my wounds because I don't want them to be aggravated. But while I'm protecting it, I don't feel that there allows real room for healing. And so that's why I'm sharing this with you today, because as we're being vulnerable, transparent, and honest, let's make sure that we're not just being vulnerable, transparent, and honest with the surface. Make sure we're taking a good look and examining ourselves, our motives, our intentions, our heart, to get to what is truly the heart of the matter, the root of the concern, the pain of it all, what the thing that is bothering us the most. So it's just a matter of digging deeper. And that's where I am in Lovin Sheila. We've been at this for over a year now, just over a year. And, I've dealt with quite a bit. I've matured in this. I have not arrived. I'm growing. And every day there's something new. And so now we're going into deeper levels of expression, deeper levels of communication, and deeper levels of vulnerability. And, it's time for me, and I'm sharing this only because I feel like it can help others as well. It's time to shed the walls, the defenses that have prevented us from going into that land, that deep into the depths of the soil of the matter, and getting to things that will help us stop protecting our wounds, be vulnerable with the right people, and expose ourselves so we can get to the place of relationship that we want to. Because, like I told you last week, I said you're good when you're doing the work and you're with yourself. But once you start to relate and deal with other people, that's a whole nother can of worms. So that's what I, want to say to you all today. There's a new level we're going to in this. There's a new level of transparency, of vulnerability, of expression. And, it's difficult. It can cause you some anger. It can cause you some real challenges. Stay the course, deal with it, recognize it, see yourself. We're only trying to get better here. So let's try and get better. Let's work on communicating better, relating better, and loving ourselves better, and seeing ourselves better, and being true to ourselves and honest with ourselves. And that's what I want to leave with you today. I hope you can relate. And I'll see you on the next Lovin Sheila short or podcast. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I appreciate your support.